Hello, welcome back. I'm back. Here we are. And for full transparency, I did film this in the summer when it was still stinking hot. But August and September were so super jam-packed for me that I didn't get around to uploading it. But that's okay. This is perfect because I thought this was a great way to ease ourselves into ooky spooky season. It's October now, and this all orange monochromatic makeup look I think is a nice way to embrace the fall colors, but is maybe an alternative to the dark and vampy fall makeup that we're used to seeing. I've already done my skincare, and I was going through a primer phase, so I'm using this primer. I don't know if it did anything, but I'm trying it. I was hoping for a more smoothing effect on my skin. For foundation, I chose to use this Bourjois foundation that I hadn't used in a while. And when I first bought this, I remember thinking, okay, this is a drugstore foundation, but it's in the section of the drugstore where there's stuff that's a little more high-end. And I was gooped when I got to the cash register and found out that this was $30. It's a weird, in-between phase where it's not a high-end product, but I still feel like I should only spend up to $20 on a drugstore foundation. Hey-ho. So at first, the color looks good, but as you can see here, even just as I'm putting it all over my face, it does start to really set down darker, which is maybe why I haven't been using it that much. And you can really notice there on my neck and then my forehead. And dare I say, it's almost looking a little bit orange. I swear I did not plan this. It just happened. Luckily, the coverage of this foundation is light to maybe medium if you build it, so it will still work it'll still be okay once it's blended out, even if it is a hair too dark for me. I'm taking my beauty blender, and I know it looks orange, but this used to be a red beauty blender that all the dye just came out of. Ha! There's my forehead looking like pumpkin cheesecake. That's okay, it's very topical. Next, I'm going to fill in my brows using this Loreal brow pencil. So it's another drugstore product. This is actually a really good match for my red hair. It's called a light brunette color, but it is quite warm. So I'm going to put it not just where my brows are sparse, but really throughout my whole brow so that it can warm up my entire brow area, because my natural brow hair color is a little bit more cool. And, this is all orange. This is all warm tones. Now, this is a pretty good drugstore eyebrow pencil. I still struggle to find good ones. And like a lot of them, it can be really soft. So it really benefits from a frequent sharpening to get the best results. So the main focus on my eyes will be a shadow from the Stupid Love palette by Haus Labs. There it is. It's called Enemy, and it's a matte orange shadow, and I'm putting that all over my lid using the Real Techniques base shadow brush. This is one of my all-time favorite brushes from Real Techniques, and I like it because it almost applies and blends shadow at the same time. It's a real multitasker. So I'm packing that all over the lid, and focusing slightly above the crease towards the inner part of my eye. No surprise here, this is going to be a one color eye. You may have seen this a lot on my channel, but this is often all you need is just one eyeshadow color, maybe two if you're pushing it. But day to day, I just find it very effective. So I will take another clean Real Techniques brush there to really buff around the edges of that color, but this multitask brush is doing most of the work. So this is the first time I'd tried this color from this palette, and it's definitely more of a rusty orange color, less of a like bright jack-o'-lantern vibe, more of a pumpkin pie feel. I did find that it does need to be layered to be really bright and opaque. So you're seeing there I'm going back and putting layer over layer of it. I realize now that this color would have definitely benefited from a base underneath. I don't have anything underneath the eyeshadow, not even a little bit of powder. So I'll know in the future when I use this eyeshadow again. I did want more intense color at my lash line, so I did switch to the Real Techniques shading brush to pack more of that on. When, lo and behold, disaster struck. Never have I ever seen this happen before. So I dropped the palette, and the eyeshadow came out. It's not surprising that I dropped the palette. I'm very clumsy, but it wasn't the pan that came out. It was literally the entire color that came out. So the literal pressed shadow had fallen out, but the metal pan remained there. Yeah, so it's frustrating that this happened, but it definitely could have been much worse. Thankfully, I have carpeted floors where I'm filming. But yeah, I tried setting the color down with a little bit of alcohol so that it doesn't completely break apart, but I do now have to be very careful with this palette. Oopsies. If you do not have the Haus Laboratories Stupid Love palette by Lady Gaga, another really great, very bright orange matte eyeshadow is the shade Tagine, which is in the Urban Decay Kristen Leanne palette. I don't know if it's available anymore, but in case you have it, that's a good one too. Less rusty, more like neon orange. So I've left the eyes and I'm putting on some Glossier Cloud Paint here as a liquid blush. This is the shade Beam. It's a really nice, bright, corally orange color. I do still find this product kind of tricky to use. It goes on so bright and pigmented that like all of a sudden I panic and think, oh my god, what have I done? This is gonna be a real look on the cheeks. But as you can see, once you blend it out, it almost disappears. Maybe a bit too much even. And I always think it's going to leave some sheen on the skin like other cream blushes do. But it is quite matte in the end once it's blended out. I'm going to do a touch of contouring here, nothing major, just using this Colorpop sculpting stick. I do realize that this was maybe a missed opportunity to use bronzer instead of contour to kind of shape the face, because bronzer, no matter how light the shade, looks so orange on me. But I'm a contour gal. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Maybe one day I'll learn how to wear bronzer. So this is just to add a little bit more shape to my face, and then I'll be back to my warm tones. I'm lightly blending out this contour using the e.l.f. What is it called? Angled Blush Brush. Blush Brush. So hard to say. I typically like to use a sponge, but this brush has really been doing it for me lately for blending out cream products specifically. Check it out. Very affordable. And I do actually like the subtle Glossier Cloud Paint paired with the bright eye, but I'm going to kind of set that blush with a powder color just to make it pop a bit more. This is from a Japanese brand called Canmake, and it's a bright orange, very pigmented blush that actually has SPF in it, which is why I was drawn to it. For lips, I was tempted to go with like full coral orangey lipstick, but instead I've opted for this peachy color from Fenty Beauty. This is one of my favorite lipsticks of all time. It's one of the Mattemoiselle lipsticks. It's in the shade Single, and I checked the website yesterday. I don't believe it's available anymore. But it's so comfortable and wearable and like full coverage on the lips. I didn't have to do much. I just kind of smeared it on, and there it is. I was so into this lipstick when I first bought it. I misplaced it, and I was so distraught that I went out and bought a second tube because I just couldn't live without it. And of course, what happens? I found that first tube. But that's okay. Now I have two. Makes me feel more safe. Yeah. Just throwing a little bit of brow gel on here. This is a Loreal brow gel, and it's made for blonde hairs, so it's like a very warm blonde, almost yellowy shade, which I thought worked out just fine for this look. Now I'm just taking a little bit of Tarte Shape Tape on my hand, just a teensy bit, and I'm tapping it on with my ring finger just gently under my eyes to brighten things up and to cover my dark circles. I do find on my skin, if I'm going to use Shape Tape, this is the best way to apply it. Letting the warmth of my little teeny ring finger just melt that product into my skin. I find that if I apply heavily, it just does not sit well on my face. Yeah. But I'll then use a little shading brush from Real Techniques to kind of spot conceal further around my eyes, just because it's a little hard to get in there with my finger, making sure that all the skin around the orange shadow is evened out. Now it's just begun to rain here. It's a rainy October day. Apologies if it's distracting in the background. Or maybe it's not. Maybe this is like that Harry Styles calm meditation tape. And we can just lean into it together. So, I wanted to kind of make the look a little bit more intense, step it up a bit. So I'm taking a pencil from OCC, and this is a pencil made for eyes, lips, wherever. It's in the shade Grandma, and as you can see, it's a really bright orange color. And I just thought it was a cool way to kind of intensify the eyes without being dark and heavy. The pencil is actually, very bright up against the more rusty shade of eyeshadow. And for mascara, I decided to use a brown mascara to, make the look a little softer and tie in with the warm orange theme. I find that very black mascara or even very black liner paired with orange can look a little too Halloween-y. That's not what I'm going for. I still want this to be intense, but wearable and flattering. Now that my foundation and concealer has had some time to sink in, I'm just taking a little bit of RCMA No Color Powder on a fluffy shadow brush around my T-zone and anywhere I find that I need it. Now for a moment I did think, oh, maybe I should put this bright orange liner on my lips. But then I thought, no, better not. I think it looks just fine without it. this lipstick defines my lip shape pretty well on its own. Less is more. Sometimes I remember that. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. And I thought I would end the look, but I did realize I do in fact have an orange highlighter. This product I got in maybe one of my very first buns trades. It's the Sleek Makeup Solstice highlighter palette. And I always forget how blinding this highlighter is. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I'm a little bit taken aback. This shadow, or pardon me, highlighter used to be super hyped up on YouTube. A lot of people were using it. And you can see here, like, the payoff, like, it lives up to the hype. But I just stopped reaching for it for some reason. And so I'm glad I pulled it out for this video, because I'm going to reach for it more often now, for sure. Look at that. It gives a very wet look on the skin. I will say, like, it's even hard to tell on camera, but it is an orange kind of peachy shade. However, all 3 or 4 shades in this palette kind of look identical on the skin. So I don't really see the need for there to be multiple colors, if you know what I mean. It just, you don't need. But I am very pleased with how it's going on there. Yes. So there you go. Like I said, this is just easing into fall makeup, easing into ooky spooky season. This is more like a dash of cinnamon in your coffee rather than a full-on venti pumpkin spice latte with whip. You know, just easy. Monochromatic makeup, I love doing it, love to see it. It can be super flattering. It doesn't need to be too matchy. And thanks for watching. I've got some more Halloween-oriented videos coming. Nothing too spooky, just some fun, glamorous stuff. See you again real soon.